Okay, so a couple of things. When writing reports, there's a few things people ask. How long should a report be? And unless it actually gives a specific word count, then a report should be as long as you need. As long as you need to clearly explain everything. And that could be, I've heard of people writing a PhD thesis in 8 pages. If that's what's required. I've heard of people taking 1,000 pages to write a PhD thesis. So the big thing when you're writing a report is, well, in the sciences and engineering, is do not repeat yourself. You don't have to keep saying the same thing over and over and over. If you're in the arts, yes, you do. But in sciences, just keep it brief. But make sure you put every important thing in there. When you're doing figures, if you're doing, there's a couple of things. If you've got a photo or something, you put a figure. Notice I write the, I notice that I write it underneath Buzz Aldrin on the moon. Or you're doing a graph. If you're putting a graph in a figure, the graph must have labels. So what could this be? Velocity, time. It must have units, so seconds, just per second. And the graph must have a title. Normally if we're doing this though, the title in a report will be in the description here. Figure 2, so it's going to be velocity versus time for, and you must always write this, you must give more information in this title than just reading off the graph, for a spacecraft on the way to the moon. On the way to the moon. So it starts off fast, it slows down, picks up speed as it gets closer to the moon. And if you can, make sure you draw a nice smooth line. What else can we put in a report? We can put in tables. When you put in tables, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, 4. Always write the table. We write the table number up the top. Table, random letters, numbers in columns. By letter, by a letter. Again, you must put a descriptive in the top there. Equations, just check the system you're using, but x equals 2 should always label equations, and you should always define what the variables are. Every single variable should be defined somewhere in the report. So x is the displacement, so where x is the displacement. So when you put in equations, don't forget to number them. Okay, a couple other things. References. And references are really, really, really important, especially in academia. Plagiarism is the biggest crime that you can commit at a university. So you are allowed to have other people's work in yours, but you must reference. So depending where you are, I mean, if in doubt, go to APA, but as long as you do a referencing system, usually in the engineering and science, as long as you do a referencing system, APA, Harvard, anything like that, you're consistent and we can find the book or the top place it's coming from, that's fine. This is partly because in engineering, every single bloody journal uses their own referencing system. So you can do inline referencing, you can use Sharp 93, lots of different ways of doing referencing. Just make sure that you're consistent all the way through. We can find the book, and yeah. So a couple of other things when doing for style, don't use bullet points. Bullet points bad. Bullet points are for managers. They are not for scientists or engineers. So don't use bullet points. Again, don't use pie graphs. Pie graphs again for managers. If you want to impress a manager, in your report, bullet points and pie graphs, but otherwise don't do it. Use third person, passive voice if you can. So the people often ask, what is passive voice in this case? Well, active voice is when you have an agent involved, like I place the pen upon the table. That is active. However, if there's no agent, nobody doing it, like the pen is placed upon the table, then that's passive mode. So the easiest way to check to see if it's active or passive mode is put the words by pirates or by Ninja or anything after it, and you'll find out. So if I say the pen is placed upon the table by pirates, then that makes sense. It's passive mode. However, if I say I place the pen upon the table by pirates, it makes less sense. So that will probably be active. And here's a tip for writing reports. If you want to check that your grammar's okay, the easiest way to do that is read the report aloud. You'll find out fairly quickly whether it makes any sense if you read it aloud. Nowadays in Microsoft Windows, Microsoft Word, if you're using Microsoft Word, there is now a feature in Microsoft Word where it will read the text out loud for you. It usually does it in a very bored American accent, but yep, that way you can sit down, listen, and see if it makes any sense. But this is a very, very useful tip. Read it out loud and you'll find any grammatical errors pretty quickly. So you do those tips and that will also greatly increase your chances of passing by writing really good reports.